Welcome back to the Insiders Film School, where we master film analysis one concept at a time. Today, we're looking at analysing performance, and listen, Sir Ian McKellen's going to explain.
How do I act so well? What I do is I pretend to be the person I'm portraying in the film or play.
I think we're going to need a bit more than that. I'm starting this ongoing series with a masterclass in each of the 5 key elements of film. And having just looked at the aesthetic of characters in the last video all about mise-en-scène, the natural next step is to look at how actors add to this meaning with their performance. And as you'll see, there's more to this than dissecting an actor's vocal and physical decisions.
Everything I've ever done in a film, it requires this getting to some sort of emotional reality that is contrary to the actual setting that you're in.
As always, at the end of this video, I'll give you a masterpiece film assignment that I think is a perfect testing ground for you to practice your new film analysis skills. Before we get started, allow me to quickly shout out my insiders over on Patreon. They support the channel and get exclusive access to the next video in this series. So to stay completely up to speed with your film studies, head over to the link in the description. Okay, let's dive in.
Okay. Yo, I got something for us too.
To truly appreciate the importance of performance in film form, you only need to look at how differently the same character can be portrayed by different actors. Let's take the Joker.
Well, pip pip to you, sir. And if you wish anything further, just ring.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
They're all familiar but so different, aren't they? When you look beyond the slight variations to the aesthetic of the characters, what specifically is it that makes each performance unique? Well, I have 3 answers for you, which will act as our 3-step framework for analysing performance: the casting, the style of acting, and the performance codes. Let's start with the casting. Now, it might surprise you to find out that the first step in analysing performance actually happens before a single line is spoken, with the choice of casting in a film. It immediately communicates meaning and sets expectations for audiences based on what we already know about the actor. For example, when I say Arnold Schwarzenegger, you think,
"I'll be back." Ha! You did not going to say that, did you?
When I say Hugh Grant, you think,
"Well, I thought it might be a charitable thing to take your skirt out for dinner and try and fatten it up a bit."
And when I say Margot Robbie, you think,
Naomi, the Duchess of...
not that one, you think,
I'm only your favorite woman of all time, Barbie!
You get the idea. So, when you're analysing performance in film, first investigate the casting choices. Here are a few things that may come up in your analysis. Genre and star quality. Is the actor synonymous with a genre or type of film? For example, Christopher Lee in horror or Julia Roberts in romantic comedies. By casting actors who've previously starred in successful films within a similar genre, filmmakers are often banking on that association to bring both meaning and commercial appeal. This is referred to as the star system, where A-listers like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt can draw huge audiences to the box office with their own style of brand. Just look at any poster where the actor's name is as big as the title, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Cinematic legacy and intertextuality. Does the actor's previous work bring extra meaning to their new role? Filmmakers will often intentionally cast actors with this in mind. Take Jack Nicholson, for example. By the time he was cast in Batman as the Joker, he was already known for iconic, unhinged performances in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and The Shining.
Have you ever thought for a single solitary moment about my responsibilities to my employers?
His inclusion added not only acting credibility, but an intertextual connection to these similar roles in Batman. Russell Crowe is another good example. His casting as Zeus in Thor: Love and Thunder nods to his legacy as Maximus in Gladiator.
Are you not entertained?
Casting against type. Sometimes filmmakers intentionally go against an actor's established persona in order to surprise audiences. This is known as casting against type, or subversive casting. A great recent example is Hugh Grant in Heretic.
Good afternoon.
We've already noted that we know him for charm and romance, which makes his turn in Heretic all the more unsettling. Or take Heath Ledger. Before playing the Joker in The Dark Knight, he was best known as a quiet, brooding, handsome teen heartthrob, arguably more suited to Bruce Wayne than the Joker. So his casting against type created audience intrigue.
See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve.
Metatextuality and real-life persona. In the age of social media, audiences know more than ever about actors' personal lives, and this can influence how we interpret their roles. This is where we start thinking about metatextuality, the idea that the actor's real-world image feeds into the meaning of their character. Take Jared Leto's version of the Joker. His public image as the heavily stylized, enigmatic frontman of 30 Seconds to Mars gives him a kind of rock star mystique, which aligns with the flamboyant, gangster-inspired Joker we saw in Suicide Squad. Or what about Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark? The arc of self-destruction and redemption in Stark's story mirrors Downey's own real-life battles with addiction and his comeback in Hollywood, making the performance even more meaningful.
And I saw that I had become part of a system that is comfortable with zero accountability.
Identity politics and cultural meaning. Finally, with casting, it's worth acknowledging that it can also be a political or cultural act. For example, gender-blind or color-conscious casting brings new layers of meaning to familiar stories. These decisions can challenge gender or racial stereotypes, or reflect changing social values, and they very often prompt us to think more deeply about whose stories are being told and by whom.
I would only ask that you consider that this plane we call life is but one of many.
So, whether actors are cast for their type, against it, or in ironic reflection of their real lives, casting is never neutral. It's one of the film's first major storytelling decisions, and it should be our first port of call in analysing performance.
You either follow my rules or follow my rules. Capiche?
Thank you.
Oh.
Thanks.
Step 2 is to identify the style of acting. This refers to the overall approach or philosophy behind a performance. There are countless styles of acting, from classical to method to absurdist to postmodern, but all of them can be broadly categorized into either naturalistic or formalist styles. Let's return to our Joker example, this time Cesar Romero's Joker and Heath Ledger's. How would you describe their overall vocal and physical expression?
You're crazy. I'm not. No, I'm not.
Make those messages clear.
Romero's performance is theatrical, exaggerated, and clearly performed, whereas Ledger's feels raw, unpredictable, and grounded in emotion. Can you see the difference? Romero is demonstrating formalist acting, and Ledger is naturalistic. Let's define those terms in a bit more detail. Formalist performances tend to be more rehearsed, whereby a performer constructs their performance based on the director's vision and external technique, like posture, voice control, and gesture. Formalist styles of acting would include melodramatic and Brechtian styles, but the most common formalist style you'll encounter in cinema is classical acting. This approach to acting is grounded in theatre and favours very specific, almost clinical decisions by the actor to translate the words in a script into a performance. The performance might evolve over the course of countless rehearsals with the director, where every movement and word is analysed. For this reason, it's synonymous with Shakespeare in the multitude of ways his work has been interpreted by actors.
Don't lose focus. To be or not to be, that is the question.
This was the primary approach to acting in the early to mid 20th century, and you'll recognise it in some of the great actors who graduated to cinema from theatre, such as Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. Naturalistic acting, on the other hand, is characterised by interpretive, often spontaneous performance where actors seek authentic connection to the character. Method acting is perhaps the most common form of naturalistic performance, where performers draw on their own emotional memory and sometimes undergo immersive preparation to inhibit the character. While it might seem unstructured, some naturalistic performances involve just as much rehearsal. The goal is to make it feel lived in. Method acting and improv are two examples of naturalistic styles. It's probably fair to say that naturalistic performance is the dominant approach in modern cinema, but it really does depend on the film and what the director wants. It's also worth noting that it's inaccurate to define an actor by a style. They may employ different approaches for different roles, as Tom Hardy beautifully summarizes in this clip.
In a nutshell, there's two types of acting: convincing and not convincing. And then midway between the two is any method necessary, including fake it to make it. I could be saying something and thinking, what's for lunch? And that could work and translate.
So why is this step important, identifying the approach to acting? Well, first and foremost, it'll inform the technical aspects of the performance, which we'll look at in step 3. But it will also shed light on where the performance is coming from. Is it a constructed collaboration between the actor and the director, like we see in a classical approach? Or does it reflect the experience of the actor offering a far more personal interpretation of the script? The answer has implications for the role of the auteur of a film. Identifying acting styles may also reflect genre, with certain performance styles synonymous with specific films. Method acting is far more synonymous with psychological thrillers such as Black Swan and Melancholia than classical acting, which is more likely found in historical epics. So, in this step, do a bit of research and find out how the actors you're analysing approach their performance. This brings us to the third and final step, where we finally get to talk about the specifics of acting by analysing performance codes. Now that you've considered the casting and the acting style, it's time to look at what the actor is literally doing on screen in minute detail and ask, how does this create meaning?
Our body is a wonderful instrument. We can express so much with the body language, the face expressions.
It's no different to how we broke down the details in mise-en-scène in the last video, but this time we're talking about the body, the face, the voice, and the way the character interacts. Take a look at these auditions by Emilia Clarke and Claire Foy, reading the exact same script but with completely different outcomes.
Dido, you stop it, won't you? You know no more of love than I myself, do you? Dido, you stop it, won't you? You have more of an idea of what love is than I do.
This stage of analysis sees us scrutinising what each actor is doing with their eyes, their tone of voice, their hands, everything. These are just a few of the things that we refer to when we say performance codes. All we need to do is identify them and consider their meaning. So, here are all the things that you should look out for when you're analysing a performance, helpfully put into 4 categories. 1. Voice and vocal delivery.
Ooh, that's a bingo!
This is where you explore how the actor uses their tone, pitch, pace, rhythm, accent, and just as importantly sometimes, silence. In other words, does their voice tremble?
I think there's an entire spectrum that your game is neglecting.
Boom.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Whisper.
There was once a dream that was Rome. You could only whisper it.
How does this make the audience feel? Do they speak quickly with nervous energy?
Because I'm going up the machine. I thought maybe, I'd get somebody something. Because I've had all these sweets and I think I'm going to get something salty. I thought maybe somebody would.
Or slowly with menace?
You're going to help us, Mr. Henderson, whether you want to or not.
Are they using an accent that changes how we perceive the background or status of the character?
How does one come by front row aisle seats for a first night at the Opera Toscana with 1 day's notice?
Consider the differences in Leonardo DiCaprio's voice in The Wolf of Wall Street, ranging from manic, coked-up confidence in times of success.
Are you behind on your credit card bills? Good, pick up the phone and start dialing.
To desperate, fragile, and whiny in times of stress.
Oh my God, you had to deal with the golf course people too!
What is he literally doing to his voice to communicate these feelings? Next, and arguably the most powerful tool in screen performance, is facial expression. Look at this incredible scene full of tension from There Will Be Blood, where Daniel Day-Lewis's face communicates meaning.
Say it.
I've abandoned my child.
Say it louder. Say it louder.
I've abandoned my child!
So, when looking at facial codes, consider what emotion the character is expressing in the scene, be it anger, despair, passion, and how they are using each part of their face to communicate this. Compare the deadpan expression commonly found on Bill Murray's face with the raw vulnerability of Adam Driver's breakdown in Marriage Story.
Do you love her?
No! But she didn't hate me. You hated me.
You hated me.
Next up, consider the body. Look at posture, gesture, movement, the physical vocabulary of the character. How do they sit, stand, move? Does this convey confidence, awkwardness, aggression? Is their general posture strong or weak? Joaquin Phoenix in Joker is a great case study. His physical transformation over the course of the film is stunning, shifting from hunched and broken to upright and dangerous. The body tells its own story. Finally, consider interactions. Performance doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's all about relationships. So here, you're analysing how the actor responds to other actors, props, and how they move through the environment. Look out for the following. Do they dominate the frame or defer to others? I'm not referring to the size of the character, but rather how their presence potentially dominates. Look at how Tyrion Lannister commands the room in Game of Thrones despite his size.
I'm guilty of a far more monstrous crime. I'm guilty of being a dwarf.
Is there a binary opposition between characters and their performance? Look at how differently Batman and the Joker move and fight. How do a character's vocal, facial, and bodily codes change around others? Do they sit close? Do they hold eye contact or shy away from it? Think of Before Sunrise, where Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy constantly shift in response to each other, listening, reacting, matching each other's rhythms. The beauty of performance codes is that they reward close observation, and I'd argue they reflect your ability to read people in real life.
I promise you, the last thing I wanted to do was find the one true religion. But unfortunately, I did.
The more you notice the subtle non-verbal cues in film, the better you'll become at understanding how meaning is communicated beyond words, through breath, silence, stillness, or movement. So, the time has come to apply this knowledge straight away. And this time, I'm going to suggest The Godfather as your masterpiece film assignment. But first, since you've made it all the way to the end of this lesson, do me a favor and like this video. If you want to be notified whenever a new lesson drops, you might want to subscribe as well. So, no doubt you've already seen The Godfather, the greatest film of all time in my recent top 30 meta list. It's a masterclass in almost every respect: direction, cinematography, set design, but today you're going to watch it or rewatch it solely focusing on the performances.
We've known each other many years, but this is the first time you ever came to me for counsel, for help.
First, consider the legendary casting of Marlon Brando and Al Pacino. Brando had become known in the public eye as brilliant, but unpredictable, even defiant. He'd also previously appeared in legendary films like A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront. How do you think this factors into his casting as the head of a mafia family?
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?
Pacino, on the other hand, was a relative unknown actor at the time. How does this change how we feel about him in the role of a younger sibling who is to take over the family?
Yes, Enzo. You better get out of here, Enzo. There's going to be trouble.
Next, look at acting styles. Brando and Pacino were early adopters of method acting and are now textbook examples of it, whereas Robert Duvall demonstrates a more restrained, measured approach that resembles classical acting. How does this present in their performances, and how much ownership do you think this gives them of their performance? And finally, look into the performance codes of characters, including voice, face, body, and interaction. I've often used the Italian restaurant scene in my videos as an example of masterful filmmaking for good reason. And here, look at how Pacino communicates stress, panic, and resolve in his performance codes. He doesn't say a word, but his face and body language say everything. So that's how we approach performance in film analysis. Pick a character, consider the casting, research their style of acting and how this impacts their performance, before deep diving into an analysis of individual performance codes. Next time we'll be stepping behind the camera, looking at how to analyze cinematography. Remember, my latest video is always exclusively on Patreon until the next one comes out, so head over there if you want to keep up to speed with the Insiders Film School. Good luck, and let me know what you thought of The Godfather in the comments below. Bye for now.